What's going on, guys, and welcome back to F1 22 for My Team Career Mode Season 2, round number 15, the Mexican Grand Prix, the penultimate round, the penultimate race of Season 2, and we're at Mexico for the first time in this game, so let's see how this one goes. A couple of upgrades to put on the car, which won't come through until Brazil next time, but one of those was actually a part that was supposed to come through for this race, but unfortunately failed. So, yep, that is what happened there. R&D, things looking pretty similar. We are kind of on a slow projection because we have like one upgrade coming through every race pretty much, and we're kind of still a bit in no man's land. Alfa Romeo supposedly getting a bit closer to us there, but yeah, we'll see where we are. Once again, the grid is really close, so really anything can happen. So Q1, and yeah, Q1 went pretty well, to be honest with you. I do quite like Mexico as a track. It's one of those tracks where I feel like you either love it or you hate it. I don't know. I know that in real life this year, the real life race was not great around here. Probably the worst race of the season, the 2022 season. But it's one of those, like other tracks, where in real life might not be the best racing, but in the game, it tends to put up a decent race. We ended up P10 in Q1, so that was pretty good. P13 for Magnussen, so he's through to Q2, just like I expect him to be at this point in time. Don't really expect him to get through to Q3, but I do at least expect him to be getting through to Q2 really every race, to be honest, with where our car is now and with the personnel upgrade we've given to him. And then Q2, I actually managed to get through to Q3, so I think it's our second time getting through to Q3, I think. We did it in Zandvoort, didn't we? I don't think we didn't do it when we had a podium last time in Singapore, did we? I don't think we got through to Q3 that time, but yeah, Q3 it is here. P8 at the end, P11 for Magnussen, so he was right on the edge. I think he's only like a 10th or so from getting into Q3, so I'm pretty happy with that for him, as long as he doesn't have a grid penalty, because every time that he has a good qualifying result, he seems to get a grid penalty. Or, you know, the one time where he had a really good result, I think he got into Q3 in Singapore, he ended up having a grid, no, sorry, he didn't have a grid penalty, but then he had an issue with his car, so hoping that this can be a clean weekend for both of us this time around. But yeah, Q3 lap also went pretty well. Now, kind of a little bit different because I had the issue once again after the most recent update. They changed the way that, you know, your tire allocations, and I was going to change it for this race, you know, give myself more softs, but I totally forgot about it. Got into qualifying and realized once again I had soft and medium for Q1, soft and hard for Q2. So it was a bit of a pain. I need to remember to do that before the next race. I have to remember to change that allocation, because it's just, I like to be able to push on a couple of sets of softs. Don't really use the softs for the races anyway, so I don't mind not having the allocations in the race. But yeah, it's just, what I did this time, I actually did my AQ1 warm-up lap on mediums, and then use the soft for a quick lap in Q1, and then for a first lap in Q2. At the end of Q3 though, we qualify P6, so our car has some serious pace here. We've actually out-qualified both the Ferraris, so Ferrari not looking good on this track, but let's see what the race has in store.
Welcome to Mexico City, the most populous city in North America, and home, of course, to the Mexico City Grand Prix. It's a sellout crowd as usual here at one of the shortest circuits on the Formula One calendar, and who, I wonder, will they be cheering on the top step of the podium today? The Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, 2.6 miles of track that allows the drivers to take full advantage of their cars, reaching speeds in excess of 220 miles per hour and providing lots of opportunities for overtaking. The circuit features 17 corners, 10 to the right and the remaining 7 going to the left. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Fernando Alonso, Hamilton, George Russell, Shaw, Leclerc, Sainz, Stroll, and Kevin Magnussen, Gasly, Tsunoda, Robert Schwartzman, and Joe, Liam Lawson, Mick Schumacher. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Esteban Ocon and Valtteri Bottas. Vettel, they've taken a grid penalty. Ricciardo, Albon and Nicholas Latifi. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you here with us today. But I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Alright, P6 on the grid for us. No penalties for anyone in front of us. Lots of penalties for cars behind though. I think like 6, maybe 7 drivers with grid penalties at the back of the grid. So that could be interesting. But yeah, we've out-qualified both Ferraris here, which is funny really, because in real life, Ferrari seem to be way off the pace in Mexico. Seems like the case here as well. P7 and 8 legitimately for both the Ferraris in this race. That's interesting. You've got Norris on the front row, you've got Alonso on the second row, and then the 2 Mercedes in front of us. I think here, usually I'd be like, oh, don't want to fight these guys. I think we can fight them here today. The fact that Magnussen is also pretty well, he's in P10 thanks to grid penalties, so we're both in the top 10. 5 red lights for the Mexican Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go. It is a decent enough start for us, all things considered with how starts usually go on this game. However, Sainz, the best starter of the 2 Ferraris. I'm pretty sure Leclerc was the one behind us, but Sainz has got the better start and he's to the outside going into turn 1. We're going to brake a little bit later than him, but a little bit boxed in by Russell up ahead, but we're going to be side by side with Carlos Sainz through this first sector here, a little bit over the curbs out of the next corner, and we're going to still be side by side as you see at the front. Norris and Verstappen also side by side battling for the lead. We're going to end up though having to concede the position to Sainz, so we've dropped a position in this first sector here to one of the Ferraris. But as you can see on the minimap, Magnussen is up to P8. He's gotten ahead of Leclerc and ahead of whoever the other car was alongside him on that 5th row of the grid. I can't remember quite who it was now. I think it was Lance Stroll in the other Red Bull. But he's now up to P8 and he's now the car behind me. So a good start for him. Not the best start for us, but yeah, as a team, running both cars in the top 8 right now, I will take that at this stage in the race. As we continue on, very hard to follow through this final stadium section. It's a very twisty bit of track, and I mean kind of ruins a bit of the racing, to be honest, but in this game not as big of a deal as it is in real life. Lando Norris crosses the line, so he's taken the lead at the start of this race from Max Verstappen. And just to note, Verstappen can win the championship here today. Charles Leclerc needs to outscore Verstappen by 3 points to still be in contention for the championship. If Verstappen finishes ahead of Norris or not ahead of Leclerc, or doesn't go down to him by 3 points, then Verstappen will be champion today. And at the moment, it's looking very much like that's the case. As we have a look at the start here with Kevin Magnussen making up those positions at the start, as it's 2 by 2 with Mazdas and Ferraris, as he's trying to get past Leclerc here at the start, and this is where he does it. Just brakes a little bit later, kind of all a little bit concertina effect into each other there, and Leclerc kind of gets hung outside to dry. And that's when Magnussen manages to get up into P8 and slots in behind us. On to lap number 4, and Norris has been leading the way for these first few laps, but now with DRS, Verstappen's going to come back at him round the outside going into turn 1. Verstappen wants to seal the championship here and win the race as well. Norris actually locks up going into turn 1, concedes the position to Verstappen, and is actually now under threat from Fernando Alonso, who's looking for his first podium of this career mode. And Alonso hasn't been on the podium this whole season. There's been a couple of times when he's been looking like he might get it, but has unfortunately just missed out. Well, here he's fighting with Norris for P2, and Alonso is now up into 2nd place, so he wants more than a 3rd place here. He might even want more than a 2nd in his penultimate race in Formula 1 after Brazil next time out. Fernando Alonso is retiring from Formula 1. He's now on the back of Verstappen, and he looks like he's got a lot of pace in that Alpine. He's pulling to the outside. He's gone for a move into turn 1 on Verstappen for the lead. Verstappen stays ahead for now, but then Alonso comes back into turn 2, round turn 3. They're still side by side. Norris is sniffing around in the background too. The two Mercedes are also there, and Alonso's got the DRS. He's got the run, and Fernando Alonso now leads the Mexican Grand Prix in his second to last race in Formula 1. He leads the Grand Prix. Let's see how this ends for him. As we continue on, we've now got Carlos Sainz. Definitely seems to have the better pace of the two Ferraris. He is finding himself battling with George Russell just ahead of us. These guys going side by side, slowing each other up, and that means that I'm going to get a better run than them. And then as we go down this second straight, we're going to go 3 wide as we go into the next left-hand corner. Me on the outside, Russell on the inside, Sainz on the inside. We are now battling with both of them. I think we're still 3 wide through that whole section. We end up having to let Russell go, but we're still going to fight Sainz, and we're actually going to get the position on Sainz back up into P6 where we started this race. And now I want to try and get back Russell because I had to let him go in that battle. Just with the way the cars were positioned, we were going to have an accident if we didn't let him go. Now that we're putting him under pressure, he's going defensive into turn 1. He's going to brake quite late, but he's going to brake too late. He's going to go into the back of his teammate Lewis Hamilton as Hamilton gets fast past Verstappen. Verstappen looks like he's having issues here because he's fallen way off the leaders of Norris and Alonso, and Verstappen is now down to 4th place. We get past Russell now that he's got front wing damage, and he's going to have to come in to the race, so that's 1 less Mercedes that we have to worry about. Now our teammate Kevin Magnussen is sizing up a move on Leclerc. Leclerc not looking particularly quick in that Ferrari. The Ferraris in general just not looking very quick this weekend, and Magnussen goes fairly deep but manages to get the move done on the Ferrari. So my teammate also showing some very good pace here. We're looking for a double points finish, a double points finish here in this race, and depending on how things go, we could even fight for a podium, as we're now right at the back of Verstappen, and he's lost a lot of time to Hamilton up ahead. He definitely has an issue here, and that's not good for him when he could win the championship here. He goes too deep into turn 1. We're going to get the beautiful little switchback on him, and now we're up into P4 ahead of Max Verstappen. I haven't heard anything over the radio, but Verstappen definitely has an issue because he's dropping off the pace massively. He needs to finish ahead of Leclerc to seal the championship here, or it will go to Brazil, so not looking good for him at the moment. As further back, the other Alpine of Esteban Ocon is having a battle with Alfa Romeo of Bottas, but behind, Daniel Ricciardo goes for a spin. Thankfully, I don't think collects anyone, so no damage for anyone there, but that was quite the spin in a battle of cars there. For nobody to have any contact with that is quite the miracle, to be honest, as we are now trying to catch up to Hamilton, and to be honest, we're not really catching him. I mean, there's sections, this final sector here, we seem to catch him quite a bit, but then through sector 1 and sector 2, he gets back away from us, so we're not actually catching him. However, we're going to come into the pits on lap number 16. Hamilton is not, so we're going to see if we can get a potential undercut on him here to go for a podium in this race. It's a quick pit stop from the team, which is good because we didn't have a quick pit stop last time around in the USA, but we're going to come out of the pits, and now Hamilton next lap is also coming out of the pits here. We're going to be behind him, but we're going to get the run into turn 1, and him being on cold hard tires, we're just going to go for the move, dive up the inside, still side by side with him round turn 2, but we're going to get our car ahead of him and be in the lead, in the lead of this battle with me and him into P3 now, and we're ahead of Hamilton. That is what we wanted to do on this restart, but Hamilton now, a couple of laps later, his tyres have warmed up and he's gone back for the move again in the second DRS zone, round the outside through that corner. We're going to stay side by side with him, and it's going to be a great little battle between me and the 7-time world champion. He's yet to get a win this season, and he thinks that he can potentially chase after Norris and Alonso up ahead if he can get past us, and in that instance he does manage to get back past us into P3. Magnussen still finding his way through the order, and I think he's actually coming up on, this is Robert Schwartzman in the Haas, still on the medium tyres. He's going quite a lot longer than everybody else on those mediums, and this is unfortunately slowing Magnussen down a little bit here, but he will just about manage to get past, as then Schwartzman now comes under fire from one of the AlphaTauris, but Magnussen is through, so that's good for him and his race. As now Russell is finding himself behind Sainz. I think both of these guys have had to come in for front wing changes. I mean, Russell definitely has. I think Sainz might have also had either a slow pit stop or a front wing change at some point, because neither of them running particularly well at the moment. We are still looking behind on Lewis Hamilton though. We've had 4 or 5 laps where we haven't really been able to do anything with him, but now we've got a good run. We're using as much ERS, depleting our battery as much as we can. We're going to go for a big dive into turn 1 and get P3 back again. We want a podium here. We want that podium real bad. And that particular lap, because I used so much ERS, slipstream and DRS down that front straight, we went purple in the first sector. We then had a green second sector, and I'm going for a potential fastest lap here. We are absolutely flooring it at the moment, going for a great little lap time here, and it's going to be the fastest lap of the race, a 1:18.8, I think that is. Fastest lap of the race for us. Can we get our first fastest lap here come the end of the race? Now, this shows that Verstappen definitely has an issue, because his teammate Lance Stroll has now caught up to him and is gone for a move. Verstappen's been in a league of his own compared to Stroll this entire season. To be fair, Stroll seemed a little bit better towards the end, but I mean, he's still to even get a podium this season. So the fact that Stroll is now attacking Verstappen, and in the end, actually just about, as they go side by side through this next section, manages to get past his teammate, that just shows that, yeah, Verstappen really has an issue, and he's actually now got Charles Leclerc behind him. So his main championship rival that he needs to finish ahead of in this race is now the car directly behind him. So this could be a spicy finish. We continue on, and although we're setting good pace, Hamilton is hanging on to the back of us. He is, I think, a little bit quicker, but we're just using as much ERS as we can to stay ahead. At the front though, lap 31, and Alonso is now coming under pressure from Lando Norris. Norris has already had 2 wins this season. He sticks his nose into turn 2, but can't do anything there. But now Russell's got a pretty bad exit out of turn 3, and as they come down the next DRS zone, Norris has the DRS. He's going to go to the outside. Alonso, though, is not going to give this one up easily. He's going to fight to the end here. He wants his first win of this career mode of this season before he retires from Formula 1. But unfortunately for him, Norris gets past up into the lead, and he will start to pull away a little bit because he seems to have a bit more pace in that McLaren. Onto lap 34, and now we have Charles Leclerc, who, despite being right on the back of Verstappen a couple of laps ago, he now has an issue. I've heard this one over the radio. My teammate gets past him, goes a bit too deep into turn 1, but manages to just about stay ahead. But now Leclerc, this could have been the chance to make the most of Verstappen's issues, but it seems like he's got an issue of his own, and it seems like a worse issue because he's fallen behind his teammate, behind Magnussen, my teammate. He's now under pressure from Pierre Gasly and has been overtaken by him, and I'm pretty sure Ocon and Tsunoda will also get past him too. And yeah, it'll be one to forget for Leclerc. I don't actually think he ends up scoring any points in the end. For us though, we held off Hamilton this whole race. He stayed within DRS the whole time though, stayed within 5 to 7 tenths of a second the whole time, so he really pushed us at the end here. But in the end, we will come home P3. It's our second podium of the season here in Mexico. Our car was great here. We had great pace. It all went well for us. Another podium in the bag. That's what we want to see. Great battling with Hamilton in this race, and it's a good finish for my teammate as well in the points.
It's certainly been an incredible year for Formula One, and our drivers have pushed themselves this season, making one of the most compelling years of racing in history. There can only be one champion, however, and here they are now, our new Formula One World Drivers' Champion. It's a performance to be proud of from our Mexico City Grand Prix winners today. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today? As the winners make their way up to the podium, one can only imagine the celebrations that will take place at McLaren tonight. Congratulations to everyone on the team, securing the win and proving they're a force to be reckoned with out on the track.
So Lando Norris gets his third career victory, his third victory of the season. He is on a roll at the moment, and I mean, as long as McLaren keeps the pace up, he could definitely be a championship contender come season 3 next time around. Fernando Alonso gets his first podium of this career mode save. Could be his last, because next time out in Brazil will be his last race in Formula 1, and we managed to get P3 on the podium. Very happy with that. Great battling with Hamilton that whole race. It's a little bit unfortunate for Alonso. I actually wanted Alonso to win that one, because I think that would have just been such a cool thing. Second to last race, get the win. The only retirement of that race, Sebastian Vettel with an engine retirement and mechanical failure. Other than that, nothing happened. In the Drivers' Championship, the only change in the whole thing is Alonso and Ocon, the two Alpine drivers, switching P8 and P10. And then the Constructors, no changes there. Last time out, Ferrari already sealed the Constructors' Championship, and there's no changes elsewhere. However, we have now locked down P6, so we will be finishing P6 in the Constructors, which I'm pretty happy with. We'll be going for a better finish next season though, of course. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.